Today, we've got another presidential shift. This time, it's going to be 1992 through 2024. This is going to take us from the first term of Bill Clinton all the way through the second term of Donald Trump. So we've got 32 years of political changes. At the end, we're going to take a look at a map. But first, we've got to get the usual background information. So back in 1992, George H.W. Bush was running for re-election, but Bill Clinton came out on top in a three-way race. He won a very convincing 370 electoral votes. He carried 32 states plus D.C. But his overall popular vote share was a plurality at just 43%. The incumbent Republican George H.W. Bush finished with 168 electoral votes, and he carried 18 states, good enough for 37.5%. And we've got a very significant third-party challenge this time from Ross Perot. He didn't carry any states or get any electoral votes, but he did finish with an impactful 18.9% of the national popular vote. Then in 2024, the election we've become so familiar with, we've got Donald Trump winning it with 312 electoral votes. He carried 31 states plus Maine second. He finished just under a majority of the vote. He got 49.8%. Kamala Harris finished in second with 226. She carried 19 states plus D.C. and Nebraska second, and that comes out to a vote share of 48.3%. So that's going to take us into all the data. We've got a spreadsheet. On the left, we've got the states. Then it's going to be the 92 Clinton vote, followed by the 92 Bush vote. Then we've got the vote in 2024 for Harris. Then we've got it for Trump. Then it's going to be the shifts between the Democratic Party between those two elections. And then it's the same for the Republicans. Finally, we've got the net shift between the two parties between the two elections. This column also has shading. The darkest colors are going to be 10 or more points. The lightest colors are going to be under 5%. So as we go through this, keep in mind, in 1992, because of Ross Perot, the vote share for the two major parties is going to be reduced. So 8 elections later in 2024, without that significant third-party presence, most of that third-party vote is going to go back into one of the two major parties. So let's check out the first state. We've got Alabama. In 1992, Bill Clinton got 40.9%. George H.W. Bush won the state with 47.7%. 32 years later, Kamala Harris went down to 34.1%, and Trump went up to 64.6%. That's a loss of 6.8% for the Dems, a gain of 16.9% for the GOP, and a total net shift of 23.7% away from the Dems and toward the Republicans. So that's how this works. Let's quickly go through the rest of these states before we take a look at the map. In Alaska, both candidates gained double digits between these two elections, but Bush gained a little bit more, and it shifted 3.9% redder. Arizona was similar, as it got redder by 3.6%. Arkansas was Bill Clinton's home state, and he won it in 1992. And because of all the changes in between, this state actually shifted a monumental 48.3%. Now we've got some blue shifts. We've got California at 6.8%, Colorado the exact same amount, 6.8%, Connecticut a little bit bluer at 8.1%, and Delaware back down at 6.5%. Then we've got Florida moving double digits redder at 11.2%. Georgia mildly redder at 2.8%. Hawaii considerably bluer at 11.7%. And then we come back into some more red shifts. We've got Idaho at a big 22.9%. Illinois at a much milder 3.4%. Indiana double digits at 12.8%. Iowa even more at 19.2%. Kansas a little less at an even 11%. Kentucky very significantly more at 33.9%. And Louisiana also at 22.6%. Maine was one of two states where Ross Perot actually got in second place. He finished ahead of George H.W. Bush, but the state overall moved 1.5 points toward the Republicans. Maryland got bluer by a big 14.3%. Massachusetts about half that at 6.7%. And then we've got more red shifts. We've got Michigan at 8.8%, Minnesota 7.4%, Mississippi 14%, Missouri twice that at 28.6%, Montana 22.4%, Nebraska 3.4%, and Nevada 5.8%. New Hampshire shifted toward the Dems by 1.7%. New Jersey did so by 3.5%, but New Mexico went back toward the Republicans at 2.6%. New York 3.3%, North Carolina 2.5%, North Dakota way more than that at 24.5%, Ohio again about half that at 12.8%, Oklahoma about twice that again at 25.6%, and Oregon decided to get bluer. It did so by 4.3%. Now more red shifts again. We've got Pennsylvania 10.8%, Rhode Island 4.3%, South Carolina 9.7%, South Dakota 25.6%, Tennessee 34.4%, Texas 10.2%, and Utah was the other state where Ross Perot got in second place. There he finished ahead of Bill Clinton, and the state moved toward the Republicans by 2.5%. Vermont was the biggest blue shift out of all the states, and it shifted in that direction by 15.8%. Virginia also notably bluer at 10.1%. Washington still moderately bluer at 6.8%. Then we've got the biggest shift out of all the states. It's again going to be in West Virginia. Virginia. Even though Clinton won it by double digits in 92, it's since shifted a massive 54.9 toward Trump with the Republicans. Wisconsin, about 50 points less than that, but in the same direction at 5.2. And Wyoming is back way up there again at 40.2 toward the GOP. Now we've got Washington, D.C., that shifted bluer by 8.3. And the national popular vote shift is 7% toward the Republicans. And one thing to take note of there are the individual shifts. In 24, without Ross Perot, Harris and the Dems gained 5.3. But the Republicans were more than twice that at gaining 12.3. So those are all the states and all the shifts. The last thing we're going to do is take all of this data and put it on a map. Here it is. This time we're going to have the same shading. 10 or more points are the darkest colors. The lightest ones are going to be under 5%. So what are the takeaways from any of these shifts? Well, overall, at the top, using the current electoral vote map, you can see the Republicans gained in states totaling 382 electoral votes, while the Democrats gained in 156. It's crystal clear that the Republicans had a far better shift here. Some states, like those on the West Coast, Colorado, Virginia, and some states on the East Coast, those are the states we know is being blue today, and we did see they got bluer. But without Ross Perot on the ballot, it would seem like there's easily more of that vote that went into Trump and the Republicans. Now, everything's not going to be perfect, and there are definitely other individual shifts and new political identities happening across some of these states. But usually there's some discussion about if Ross Perot was not on the ballot back in 92, could George H.W. Bush have won re-election? I don't think there's any confident way to answer that, but it's at least a possibility worth considering. Perot got at least 10% of the vote in every state, and in a bunch he got more than 20%. And again, he finished ahead of Bush in Maine and Clinton in Utah. So if it was just a two-way race, it would seem like Bush would have gained some more of that vote. It's even more evident when we see some of these changes from 92 to 24. How much vote did Perot take away from either side, and how many of those voters came out just to vote Perot or bust? Again, nobody really knows. But the Clinton years were the last time a Democrat had real success in some of the southern states. You can see there's a lot of dark red on this map. That's going to go all the way from Idaho and the upper Great Plains, through most of the Midwest and into parts of the South, except for Virginia and some of the Sun Belt. Even states like New York and Rhode Island in the Northeast. They also got a little bit redder, but it was not overly significant. In some of the bluer states, I would say it's more likely that Perot took away more from Clinton than he did from Bush. We just saw that on the spreadsheet. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to happen politically when you're looking between three different decades of voting. Some states have moved a whole lot, others not so much. Some have voted for both parties in between. Others have stayed in one direction ever since Clinton. And 92 was a convincing electoral college vote win for Clinton. But in a competitive three-way race, there was no way he was going to come out with a majority of the vote. So kind of a relatively unique election. The incumbent president was defeated, and then ushered Clinton, the Southern Democrat, into an entirely new political era. I'm sure that set in motion a whole bunch of changes leading up to the environment we might be more familiar with today. So those are the presidential shifts between 1992 and 2024. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of the shifts in any of these states? Do some of these states surprise you way more than others? Why do you think some of the individual states have shifted the way that they did? And what about Ross Perot? How much, if anything, did he have an effect on the outcome of the 92 election? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.